Hey everybody, it's Scott Steen with the winnersandwhiners.com coming to you with the Thursday edition of Today in Sports Betting. It's the Today in Sports Betting edition of the it's just the two mooks talking again is what we got here, Scott. I hope everybody was able to tune in for our show with Dave Mason. A lot of fun, very informative, talking about all the odds and bets that are coming in here in Super Bowl week. And always a great guest to have on. So if you haven't checked that out, make sure you check out our earlier edition with Dave Mason of Bet Online. Scott, how did yesterday go for you? Did you jump off the cliff like everybody else?
Well, I definitely didn't remain on the cliff. But yeah, it was not really a fun time. Most people, I'm sure, as they know, if you took a favorite, the odds are you probably lost. So yeah. I had two favorites, and they both lost. So happens.
Yeah, we had Oklahoma State for our play of the day. That did not go well, although that was a game kind of misleading by the final score. Oklahoma State was actually up by 3 inside of a minute with the ball.
I don't know why they shot the ball with 10 seconds left on the game clock.
Well, I'm more concerned about why the guy tripped at midcourt with a one-on-one opportunity to take it to either 5, to take it to 4 or 5, or to 5 or 6.
Well, what line did you get on that game?
We had it at 5.5.
Okay. So it didn't really impact the spread, but I know that they lost the game outright. I know Kate Cunningham's supposed to be one of the top 2-3 picks in the draft. They have no shot clock in a tie game with 15 seconds to go, and he attempts a layup with 9 seconds left instead of holding for 1, and then TCU goes down the court and it's a game-winning layup. So I don't really know what happened at the end of that game.
Yeah, there was about 0.9 difference in the shot clock and the game clock.
So I'm saying TCU scored to tie the game, and then there was.
I understand. That's what I'm saying. With the last shot, there was 30.9 seconds left on the clock when they got the ball.
Who got the ball?
When Oklahoma State got the ball back.
I'm telling you that's incorrect. I'm telling you TCU scored with like 15 seconds left.
No.
And Oklahoma State, instead of holding for 1, attempted a layup for no reason with 10 seconds on the clock. I promise you I saw it.
That part is right, but the part that how much time was left is wrong.
I can look it up right now. I can tell you right now that that's a fact.
Nope.
I'll look it up right now. In the meanwhile, you can start it off. I'll look at the game log.
Well, we don't have a lot of excitement in college ball, so we'll start there, Scott. We got one good game, and that's going to be in the Big Ten between Iowa and Ohio State. It's pretty much 5.5 market wide. We're gonna call it 5 right now. Bets have been pretty evenly split for this one. A little bit of money coming in on Ohio State, not a ton. Scott, who do you got here?
Well, first of all, I got the information, and it says here TCU made a layup with 17 seconds left, and then Oklahoma State attempted a layup with 12 seconds left instead of holding for 1, and then TCU went the other way and hit a game-winning and won.
Well, did TCU? No, that's not. Did TCU have the clock?
Oklahoma State had the ball up 1 with about 26 seconds to go, then split free throws. TCU hit a layup, and then Oklahoma State took a quick shot in a tie game with 12 seconds left.
Well, I definitely agreed with you on the quick shot thing. That part made no sense.
Their situation, the shot clock was about 30. The game clock was 28. So they fouled, and then Oklahoma State split free throws.
That was okay. So that was the possession I was thinking of. Is the possession before that? All right.
Yeah. Anyway, talk about your question on this one. I got to go with Iowa. Am I a big fan of the current spread? No. Am I going to touch it? Probably not. But Iowa at home has been very good. I know that it lost a pretty tough game against Illinois on the road over the last week. However, Iowa ended up playing – I kind of struggled with Michigan State, to be honest, but Michigan State, pretty desperate team, ended up putting it together and winning that game by 6. Ohio State's been very good. The only question that I have is with the home-road splits here. I know that it's been pretty good on the road, but if you want to actually talk about who it has beaten, I'm not a fan of this Wisconsin team at all. I know it beat Illinois, which was a very impressive win. I don't know. I think I'm leaning to Iowa because I do find this line a little bit high. I originally thought that Ohio State would be closer in the 4 range. I thought it would be around +4 or so. But you have been getting some decent amount of line movement on Iowa in this matchup. And I think that that's kind of telling to me. So for me, I'm going to lean to Iowa. Do you agree that this line does look peculiar, a little bit peculiar, and how I thought this line would be around 4.5. You feel the same way?
Yeah, I mean, I think there's a lot of heat behind this Ohio State team. They won 6 to 7.
Well, it's a good team.
And it looks like, I think to the novice fan, it looks like maybe Iowa's fading a little bit. Although they played the game against Indiana was kind of inexcusable. But you go to Illinois, you play a tight game, you end up losing by free throws, you end up losing by 5. There's no shame in that. You lose by 5 as a 3-point dog. Couldn't cover against Michigan State. That was surprising to me. I thought they'd have a bounce back game there at home. So, but I'll tell you what gives me pause, Scott, is the game that Ohio State lost there, and they've like I said, they won 6 to 7. The game they lost was to Purdue, who features, of course, a very good I don't know how good they are. They have a lot of size in the middle. They have a lot.
Williams absolutely killed them in that game, and he's a very good big man, kind of like a Zach Randolph type. So he was great. That's kind of my issue. I look at Liddell and I think he's a good center, but I'm assuming Garza is just going to be too much to handle in the interior.
It's about time for that to happen. Yes, we keep waiting for him to really step up here, and he hasn't. He's kind of gone into a little bit of a slump. But yeah, he should give this Ohio State team fits. You worry about the 5? I know you feel better at 4, but I don't think it ain't going there.
I'm leaning to Iowa, but to be completely honest, I'm not going to play this game. It's just one of those spots where I think that the line movement is kind of daring you to take Ohio State. It seems like it's kind of just wanting you to take the hot team on the road in conference play.
Right.
Usually when that's the case, you're just taking the bait from the sports book. So for me, I'll lean to Iowa, but I'm not going to touch it. I don't know if you want to talk about the line movement on the total in this game. Has been a lot of under money. It's gone from 160 to 157. Give or take. So you have seen a steady amount of money on the under. However, you did see a lot of steady amount of under money on the Michigan State game with Iowa, and that game ended up going over by about 7 points or so. So that did not work out for that line movement. But
and I tell you, I've got it. I don't know where you're seeing it open at 160. I see it open at 157.5, and it's down to 156.5 or 156 in most spots.
I saw 160, but I guess that could be incorrect. We can compromise and call it 158. But there has been under money regardless.
Yeah, it has. 62% of the bets coming in on the under, but 63% of the money is on the over, Scott. So I think you're absolutely onto something. That's a substantial total as far as these two teams go. Putting it up in that neighborhood, Iowa has certainly shown their ability to score, and they've shown their inability to stop anyone. I'm just not sure that they have enough firepower on the Ohio State side to do their part to get this number over. Your thoughts on that total?
Yeah, I'd have to lean under. It's just a matter of look at these matchups here. Ohio State, even though people might think of all the weapons they have on offense, the team's actually been very solid defensively. And I think that's been one of the main reasons, one of the main catalysts as to why this team has been successful, regardless of how many people have been injured over the year. Spoiler alert, it's been a lot. Ohio State's been extremely injury-riddled and seems to not get affected by it at all. But this team defensively can put the clamps down every now and then. And Iowa, the defense has been an issue. Giving up 78 to Michigan State, giving up 80 to Illinois is actually not that bad. Giving up 81 to Indiana is not a good time. But I don't know. I just think both teams will buckle down a bit defensively. I'm assuming you agree Ohio State cannot really afford to go up and down with Iowa. I said in the last game, Michigan State went up and down against Iowa. They'd lose. And shocker, eventually they ran out of gas, and Iowa kept going up tempo. And Michigan State eventually, despite starting off with a pretty decent lead in the first half, kind of fell apart down the stretch. So I think that Ohio State knows that if it's going to win this game, it needs to keep Iowa out of transition and guard the three-point line well. And I think that it'll at least try to slow the pace. Do you agree with that?
I'm going to make I'll make a pure money play here. I'll follow the sharp money, and I'll take the over. I can get it at 156 still, a couple different places.
Do you think that you can afford to wait it out? Because I don't know how low this line's going to go. But do you think it eventually reaches the 155? So do you think eventually you'll see some buyback?
I think eventually you're going to see buyback. I don't think it gets to 155.
Yeah, I'm trying to figure out where that point would be. I guess that point would probably be 156 even.
Yeah, I think like I said, most of it's 156.5 across the board. There is, like I said, a couple of 156, but that seems to be I don't see anything even in danger of going below 156. So we'll see if this sharp money turns around. But with the with the sharps hitting the over and the public on the under, it will be an interesting battle, a tug of war here this afternoon to see how that line goes. I'm personally, I'm okay with booking it at 156 flat.
Yeah, that's fine.
All right. So anything else in the college ranks? I know it's kind of a light schedule. We got a lot of cancellations as well. Nothing. The only game that I really was interested in there, as far as what got canceled, was the Colorado Arizona State game. I'm just not sure what we have with this Colorado team. I was about ready to go. I was not ready to go all in on the Bucks, but I was ready to make a healthy 3-bet, and they've kind of fallen off the wayside. So, Scott, anything else on this card have your attention?
Well, one game I am actually somewhat interested in, just based solely on the line movement and the two teams involved. It's on Weber State against Montana State. I know I have backed Weber in the past, and they have done well for me. I just find it fascinating that Montana State's won each of its first 6 conference games, 9-3 overall, 7-game winning streak, and yet money has poured in on Weber in this matchup, because you have seen the spread go from about 4 to 5.5. So there has been a lot of line movement on Weber, and I do find that fascinating. Also, decent amount of money on the over in that one, as you have seen the spread. You've seen the total go from about 138.5 to 142.5. So there has been a lot of money on the over. I'd probably lean over there. But Weber State, I find that line movement fascinating because the number 1 team in the conference is getting money poured against them. You don't exactly see that often.
Yeah, Montana State, 73% of the bets on Montana State, 88% of the money. So there's a little bit of sharp action right now on Montana State. Fading Weber and
right. You mean on Weber?
No, I don't.
Because if you're saying that there's a lot of money coming in on Montana, but the spread keeps going up, then
the spread, the info that it opened it. Like Circa opened it at 6. Westgate opened at 6. It's now down to 5.5.
I saw it the opposite. I saw it at 4.5. So I guess maybe
I don't see 4.5. I don't see 4.5 anywhere. William Hill has it at 6.
I'm saying Are you saying right now or what it opened?
Right now as we speak.
I'm saying I see that it opened to 4.5. It's been bet up to 5.5. That's what I see. I don't know how accurate that is, but that's the information that I have.
Well, right. So I'm worried about. Well, I see it open at 5. Although you never know where they get the consensus from, but I can't tell you what it is right now.
Yeah.
So that looks like to me, there's still it's reverse line move. So it's basically the opposite of what you're saying.
Okay. So, well, it depends on what information, but I'll keep that in mind. I know one matchup that I feel like you kind of have to talk about, even though it's not a fun matchup. That's probably not on TV. You probably can't find it. There's no chance I'm taking Idaho plus the points. I'll tell you that much. I know Idaho right now is getting 15 at home. This team, it's better than Mississippi Valley, but it has to be a bottom 5, bottom 10 team.
They're definitely a bottom 10. I was actually looking at the bottom, and I was looking. What was I looking at? I was looking at Sagarin, and I actually looking at Kim Palm both. They're definitely a bottom 10. They're not a bottom 5. Most of the you've got Pine Bluff and you've got Mississippi Valley State that are both bottom 5 teams out of that same conference. But yeah, this Idaho, the Idaho Vandals are definitely.
I bet against them. This team is absolutely useless on both sides of the ball.
They're fadeable. I actually looked at that. That was and right now it looks like pretty even split on the money coming in there.
Well, because the issue is that Eastern Washington 6-6 are not a very good team, but they are 5-2 in conference play. So you have to assume that in a game where it has a chance to potentially move into a tie for second or to fend off Weber, all these conference games are kind of meaningful. And I think that Eastern Washington might lay the wood here after Idaho has lost pretty much all of its conference games, not just outright, but by double digits. I mean, they're 0-13, 0-10 in conference play. This team is a lost cause. And I don't know. I think Eastern Washington should have a decent chance there.
And it's hard to believe, but Idaho is still overvalued by the market as they've gone 3-10 against the number.
Yeah, they're even worse than the market has even imagined.
Yeah, it's pretty incredible. I got to be honest with you, Scott. I probably would have had an appetite for perhaps playing Eastern Washington if my laying the big number yesterday on the Houston Cougars would have worked out better.
I don't know if I'm going to officially lay it. I'm just throwing it out there. We've talked in the past about Pine Bluff and Mississippi Valley State and all these fadeable teams. Idaho might be a sleeper fadeable team because this team is easily the worst team in the entire conference, and it is not close.
Yeah, not a horrible offensive team, but just dreadful defensively.
Well, efficiency-wise, it's terrible offensively as well.
Yeah.
Idaho ranks 340th in offensive efficiency, and defensively ranks 351st. So basically useless on both sides of the ball.
I think that what is
should be a
it?
fun time.
353, right?
357.
357. Okay, that's right.
They added a couple of D1 teams.
Oh, that's right. Bellarmine and I know somebody else came in. Yeah,
Tarleton and some
Tarleton, right?
Yeah. Dixie State as well, I think.
Dixie State. Yeah, I think there's one.
I mean, a couple of these teams that are the worst teams in the country, though, aren't even fully accessible because Chicago State hasn't played in about 4 months and nobody noticed.
Yeah, they were so shitty. They just went, yeah, we're done.
They just gave up that a COVID outbreak and said, I think we're better off just staying home.
Calling it good.
I think Kentucky should have maybe followed suit on that one.
Shots fired, my friend.
That was a close one. Missouri covered in the end, right?
Yeah, if you got that at 4.5. Now some people got bad numbers there and ended up pushing, but yeah,
4 by 5, right?
Mizzou wins by 5, right?
Yeah, but anyway, yeah.
All right, so let's put that in our rearview mirror, my friend, and head on to the NBA. As is our tradition, we will take a look at the 2 TV games, and it's a couple of our old favorites here, Scott, that we haven't seen on TV in seems like at least a day. It is the Golden State Warriors and the Dallas Mavericks.
Now, let me just be clear, by the way. I know that Golden State's been in some very good games on TV. The game against the Celtics was very entertaining and stuff like that. I just hope that even if you disagree with my stance, I've brought awareness to how often this team is on TV. Can we agree that I think I've done a pretty good job at that?
Well, one man's awareness is another man's bitching incessantly. So,
well, that's true. But if I just feel like maybe you wouldn't have noticed as quickly as I did when it came to just, I don't know, exposing the NBA for just shoving the Warriors down our throats.
So you think without you pointing it out, that people would have
noticed, but I don't think they would have noticed as quickly.
You don't think they would have noticed Steph Curry's on their TV twice a week without you saying it?
They beat the sharp line movement on TV watches on the Warriors.
Don't break your arm, buddy.
It's not like it matters for anything. It's just more of, I feel like a lot of people might have realized this team is actually on all the time.
It's like noticing a certain kind of car. When you buy a car, you never noticed it on the road before. Now that's all you see. So as soon as Scott points it out, you start noticing. Oh yeah, the Golden State Warriors are on TV a lot.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Well, this is Mavs -3.
How about Dallas, by the way? They won a game. They did something. They won a game.
What do you make of this Mavs team? 228.5 is the total, by the way.
I do not. Truth is, Dallas, I kind of reached the same boiling point yesterday with the Heat. I'm just done. I've tried to, hold out and see what happens with some teams every now and then. Dallas maybe has something in the works. It had a bunch of injuries, but I don't see it. I don't think Atlanta's very good, so I'm not going to overreact, especially with DeAndre Hunter out, who's probably their second best player, third best player because you still have Collins and Young. But Hunter's been out, and that's been a big deal. And defensively, the team's been a disaster. So even though Dallas won, good win, but I'm not going to overreact to it. Miami lost to the Wizards. Like, come on, man. You scored 35 points in the second half. So I kind of group those two teams together where they had preseason expectations, and it seems like people were waiting for them to show up and do something. I am not really on board. Dallas I quit on earlier this year, but I think it's time for the Heat to join that same group. I think you'd probably agree with that.
I would agree with that. It's the teams that we expected great things out of and have been disappointing in 2021 so far.
35 second-half points against the Wizards.
That's class. That's high quality right there.
I don't even know how to describe that. That's just next level bad.
Yeah, because if a team puts up 17 or 18 in a quarter, you go, well, that's just a horrible quarter.
I'm pretty sure the Nets might have put up 35 points in multiple quarters against the Wizards the previous game. Or like Portland did that as well. So, it's against Washington, that's just bad. But anyway, talking about Dallas, the reason why I bring up the game yesterday against Atlanta is because of the fact that I ended up snapping a huge losing streak. But what I have noticed from some teams is that back-to-backs have been killing some of these teams. I know that was the case with Indiana yesterday. Lost to Milwaukee by, 45, 90, something like that.
Brutal.
Memphis got killed the other night off a back-to-back by Indiana. A lot of back-to-back situations that seem to be killing teams lately. I know there have been some exceptions. I know the Clippers did well against the Cavs yesterday. But for the most part, Golden State, I know I keep roasting them. Do you think they should be underdogs here? Because I really don't. But I am going to acknowledge that without Wiseman and now Kevon Looney, who's also out for a couple weeks, this team has no big men whatsoever. And Porzingis better record a double-double. That's all I'm going to say, because they got nobody who can guard them. You agree with that?
I do agree with that. If ever there was a time for Porzingis to shine, it would be tonight. And you and I have documented well about how Porzingis has been, I don't know.
Underwhelming.
I was going to say, I don't know if you call him the most disappointing player in the NBA this year, but certainly top 5.
Yeah, that's a fair statement.
This is a Golden State team that doesn't play well on the road. They're a decent team at home. They have not fared well on the road. The only game they've covered here lately has been against the Lakers. I've got Dallas here. I just think it's a good situational spot for the Mavericks. I think Lucy's really going to hold the football this time, Scott. I'm cooking it right through the goalpost, buddy. Give me the Mavs.
Well, truth is, it should. The issue you have there is that you mentioned how Golden State's bad on the road. Dallas is 2-6 straight up at home.
Yeah.
So it's not like this team's been dominant at American Airlines Center, which is a bit of a problem. But for me, I don't know. I'm kind of just going to go against the back-to-back. I think Dallas finally got a win it needed. Would it surprise me if Dallas wins this game? No. Do I kind of want to see Dallas win this game a bit? Because I do find Dallas entertaining. But I don't know. Golden State, even though they got absolutely killed on the boards by Boston, which I thought was going to happen, I documented numerous times, and Celtics ended up winning the rebounding edge by 20, 62-42 on the boards. Golden State still only lost by 4, and I still think Boston's a pretty good team. So I respect the fact that Golden State hung around. Dallas defensively is very, very Jekyll and Hyde. So for me, I'll lean Golden State. I think they got a shot to win the game. But once again, that's mostly a back-to-back fade.
Well, and, you mentioned it, you can't really overreact to the game that Dallas played against Atlanta, because before that they'd lost and failed to cover 6 straight. So they are playing a back-to-back, and they are playing a back-to-back with travel, where they were in Atlanta and now they're in Dallas. Mm-hmm. Obviously, it's not a long flight, but, anytime you got to jack with it, anytime you got to get on that plane, pack, and do all the rigmarole, it certainly can have an effect. It's not a great spot for Dallas. I just don't think they have anybody to match up with Porzingis.
I don't think they do either, or Cauley Stein, because they just have no big men. But I am curious, as of right now, who is the center for Golden State?
I don't even know who you trot out there, Scott.
That's what I'm just saying. I know that it goes against what I just said about how I'll lean Golden State plus the points, but this team has nobody besides Marquise Chris, I guess. I mean, he hasn't played since December. I don't even know if he's still alive. But, I'm just talking about the actual live roster from what I see on ESPN. I don't see anybody on this team who can play center unless they just go ultra, ultra small. Chris out for the season, apparently. So he's also injured. I didn't even know that.
Very good.
But, yeah, what do you got? Draymond at center? You just go ultra, uber small and just call it a day? Like, I don't know what your plan is here, but you also have Smolijic, that European guy who's 6'10". He's also out for the year. So they really have nobody on the roster who's above. I mean, who's like an actual power forward center who's above about, I don't know, 6'7". It's really going to be a fascinating game.
Yeah, I mean, what do you put Oubre or Wiggins there? You have him do a Magic Johnson?
I think you might have to put Draymond at center and just pray that you can go small and hope. They're probably going to go zone a decent amount. I don't know what you're going to do. Very fascinating game to watch from a case study.
Yeah, they literally have nobody over 6'7" on their roster.
You know, it would be a great center on this team, PJ Tucker, because this looks like the Rockets from last year. This is what they got, so we'll see what happens. But
yeah, you're right.
We'll see.
All right. Well, any thoughts on the total?
I kind of have to lean over because Golden State has no centers, so I got to assume they're going to chuck up a bunch of threes and I don't know, Dallas might get into the bonus decently quickly. But
yeah, that's what I was going to say.
Fascinating.
That may be the best play in this game. Is just playing a lot of quick shots because, like you said, Golden State ain't going to run a lot of half-court sets and pound it in the paint. I imagine Steph Curry's right arm's going to be sore by the end of this game.
They might just go 5 out and just chuck up 40, 50-something threes.
Right? And on the other side, you're going to have Dallas that's going to just dump it down to Porzingis as quickly as possible.
You think of Doncic on the low block. You can really do whatever you want for that.
Yeah, agreed.
Yeah.
So that's that. And then our
tallest active player on the team might actually be Andrew Wiggins.
If you were,
it's just so funny. I can't get over it. That's just so funny.
And this is one of those nights where if you were to look at the schedule and not even knowing start times or anything else, you could probably guess the other TV game. And it is your Los Angeles Lakers and the 12-8 Denver Nuggets.
The surging 12-8 Denver Nuggets.
The surging Denver Nuggets. Lakers just a 5-point favorite there at the Staples Center. 216 is your sucker total. Who you got here, Scott?
Well, as you know, I have completely absolved myself of all future Laker bets on games because I can't figure this team out from a game-to-game basis. I still have them to win the title because in the playoffs they'll kick it into another gear like they always do. But this year, LeBron right now is playing every game. Seems like he wants the MVP. He's the huge favorite to win the MVP, even though I don't think he should be. For truth is, I think Jokic should probably be the favorite to win the MVP if I was making the lines myself. But yeah, you kind of have a matchup here where LeBron can make a statement. If they win this game and LeBron goes for 38 and 7, then he might give himself a huge edge in the MVP race. I don't know if that's more of a selfish interest, but I'm assuming you'd agree that since LeBron has played every game so far, I think he might be having a lot of selfish interest this season. And it appears to be that way. Do you agree with that?
Yeah, I think he got last year for the team, this year for LeBron.
So what it seems like to me, so I'm assuming you agree LeBron should take this game a bit personally against Jokic, who might be his biggest competitor, either him or Embiid, for the MVP.
Yeah.
So that is something to keep in mind. Do I trust the Lakers in this spot? No, because I don't trust the Lakers in the regular season. I know Denver is going to treat this game like it's a damn well, first of all, in addition to it being a game to make a statement, it's also a revenge game because the Lakers, of course, beat the Nuggets in the Western Conference Finals last year. And revenge games have gone pretty well for the team that lost in the playoffs or last year or whatever. Now, looking at the Lakers, they had a little bit of a losing streak there, 2 games, lost to the Sixers and Detroit. So I'm not sure what happened with Detroit. Ended up rallying to beat Boston on the road and ended up beating Atlanta in the courtside Karen game while also covering that spread barely, but that was a very close game in the last minute or two. Now they finally return home after playing 7 straight games on the road. Do you think that provides a massive boost there for the Lakers or no?
I do think it does. Side question, Scott, what are the odds of Karen being 25?
Probably the same odds of her husband being 50 to 60 plus.
Oh, she said, I can't believe he's picking on a 25-year-old. I'm like, why did you bring your younger sister? This is I'll tell you, what do you make of Harris being out for this one? How big of an impact do you think it's going to have here?
The truth is, I think Harris used to be a good player, and I just think that he kind of fell off. I don't really think there's much stock in Harris. You want to look at Harris's numbers over the last couple of years, including this year, averaging 10.1 points per game, which is fine. But the main issue I have is that his efficiency this season, shooting 45% from the floor, not bad, but we remember him as being more of a floor stretcher, shooting 33.3% from 3. So he hasn't really been that much. Now, I know that defensively, Denver's had some problems, and Harris is definitely one of their better defenders, which just tells you all you need to know about how bad Denver's defense is.
Right.
But I don't think it makes that much of an impact. Truth is, Denver, over the last week or two, has been really, really good. This team had 5 straight games on the road, went 4-1. In those games, a 1 loss San Antonio, then came back and had a massive statement win against Utah, who was on the middle of a massive winning streak, and Jokic just put up 47. Jokic killed that team.
Yeah, and that was a game. That's the game where Harris got hurt, and he
Yeah.
only played 9 minutes in that. So they were able to do that for all intents and purposes.
But I think it balances out because Harris needed to have a bigger role earlier in the year when Porter was out, and now Porter's back, so you might have to rely less on Harris. I think it doesn't really make much of an impact. I don't know what you think about this matchup. I'm actually going to lean to Denver plus the points. Am I going to play it? Probably not, because I told you I can't figure the Lakers out in a regular season game to save my life. But I don't want to lay the points with Los Angeles here.
You know what? I will. I'll lay the points with the Lakers. I think Denver's due to lay an egg. The thing I like about this is the Lakers got an extra day of rest. They haven't played since the 31st. So I like that. I like that extra day of rest for the old bodies. I'm just not convinced of this Denver team yet. I want to be. I want them to compete. I want them to be right there at the end of the year. And I think they're going to be a solid 4 or 5 seed, Scott.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it sounds about right.
But I'll take the Lakers in this spot. I don't love it. It's not a real strong play for me. But I do kind of lean Lakers, and I'll lean under as well. Denver's gone under in 6 of their last 7, and while the Lakers have been playing over, I still respect this defense. Although the defense has been faltering a little bit.
I think the key to this game is going to be if Murray actually shows up or not.
I actually have the numbers backwards, Scott. So let's. The Lakers have gone under 6 of their last 7.
The Lakers have been an under team. Denver's been no.
Yeah, the Lakers. That's why it surprised me. And then I started looking at the defense. I'm like, wait a minute, that's got to be the wrong one. So yeah, the Lakers defense has been fine, and the Denver defense has been surprisingly, not surprisingly shitty.
Well, you mentioned disappointing players, and Porzingis is on the list.
Yep.
Would you put Jamal Murray on that list? Because I think you kind of have to.
Yes, absolutely. That is as you know, I do the occasional ESPN radio spot there in Denver, and that is I always like to listen in on the segment before me, and that was the segment this week is what the hell's wrong with Jamal Murray. So yeah, absolutely. And I know, and people in Denver are panicking. Not panicking.
I've never been a big Murray guy, as you know. I know he was great in the bubble and all, but efficiency-wise, truth is, people can talk about long-term how him and Jokic are the big 2 of that team. I think it's Porter.
I think it has to be Porter. The last 2 seasons, Murray's had 2.5 good weeks.
He's
three good.
I think he was an All-Star one year. I think.
The last 2 years.
I think he might have been a bench All-Star. I'm not fully certain about that, but I think Murray's a good player. But I think they got a huge contract, and people just thought after the bubble he's going to remain on that next level. And my argument is, he played that well for about a week or 2. He's not going to do it for a full 70 or 80 game season.
He didn't even do it for the full bubble.
Yeah.
So, yeah, no. I
think for this game, I think Murray will play well. But long term, I think he's the odd man out of that big 3 or whatever you want to call it.
Well, that's a disjointed prediction. What do you base that on?
Simply put, I just don't think Schroeder is going to be able to guard him.
Okay. All right, very good. So you got Denver here?
Yeah, I'll lean Denver once again. I'm not going to play it. But okay. I think you'll agree, if Denver's going to cover, Murray needs to have a big game.
Yes, and I have no faith in Murray. That's why I've got the Lakers to cover the number.
That is fair. I don't know why. I just think he's going to play pretty well.
All right, very good. Anything else on the NBA card get your attention?
Well, I've been talking about back-to-backs, and I know that this team killed me from a play-the-day perspective yesterday, and I even have a future of them to win the division. How do I not look at Memphis here?
Yeah.
I feel like you kind of have to. Now, once again, I have a future on Houston to win the division, so I'm rooting for Houston to win the game. But based on spots, I don't really know what more you want for Memphis here.
I would like for them not to have lost to Indiana by 18 points their last time out.
That was also a back-to-back, though, so you can make the argument that Memphis, with the day of rest, Houston ended up resting John Wall yesterday. Now there are some rumors that might be resting Oladipo today. So they are kind of rotating players who might play, who might not play. And I still think that even though this team lost its last game, I still like this Memphis team. I still think Memphis is pretty good. So I'm not going to overreact to that one game against Indiana. I think that this team does have talent. And I think at 2.5, I think that there's some value on Memphis.
Memphis is missing some of their young talent. They're going to be missing Grace now, and they're going to be missing Tilly.
They've been
And
out. Allen's been out for a while. Tilly, I don't think, has played all year. I know Valanciunas being out is the more big deal, but he also hasn't played in a couple of games as well for COVID. So, no, for the most part, it's the same roster. Minnesota's not Minnesota. I keep doing that. Memphis has been thrown out there. It's mostly a size thing. You look at Tillman, you look at Clark, you look at Houston. You have Christian Wood, who's very, very good. Your other big man is PJ Tucker. I know you got Cousins off the bench, but I don't even know if Cousins is anywhere near the guy. He's been playing better lately.
he's been playing better lately.
But I don't know. I think Memphis does have some talent advantage here, and I think Memphis should win this game. It's a good spot. Like, that's just how I view it.
Okay. All right.
We do agree about the spot?
Yeah, it is the back-to-back. They're two travel days in a row. That's definitely something to take a look at. Yeah, I'm willing to write that clunker off against Indiana. They've had a chance to rest up. So, boy, I hate fading this Rockets team. I really do.
So do I. But I think you'll agree the spot alone dictates, especially
it's a good situational spot.
If Oladipo does not play, what do you think this line moves to? Like 3.5, 4?
Yeah.
So, sure.
I think that's the good number. Where I don't know where you're seeing that. Where are you seeing the Oladipo thing?
Well, I see it's a game time decision, according to RotoWire. And based on the information, it's according to actually Fox
Twitter.
in Houston.
Is it Twitter?
That he's likely going to be held out.
Yeah, I think that's definitely going to make a difference in this one.
It makes a lot of sense because Oladipo, even though he's been healthy this year, is still coming off some injuries in previous years. It makes sense to alternate him and Wall back to back.
And they need both those guys for the entire season to give this Houston team a shot.
So I think Oladipo's not going to play. So I expect more line movement to come on Memphis.
Okay, very good. Anything else?
No, not really.
All right. So there you go. As always, if you're looking for more information on these games or any other games, don't forget to stop by and check out winnersandwhiners.com, number one site in the world for predictive sports analysis, deep dives into every game every single day. Make it part of your daily handicapping regimen, if you will, please. And, of course, don't forget to don't forget to subscribe to our videos here. We appreciate you guys stopping by and checking us out. Wish you nothing but the best today. Hope every one of those tickets in your pocket turns into cash money back at the window. For myself, for Scott Reichel, for all of us over here at Winners and Whiners, guys, have a great day. And we'll see you tomorrow on Today in Sports Betting. Take care, everybody.